Welcome back in another video on the Slee and Wheels. Before the video start, channel subscribe and like the video. Okay, ready for start the video.
Aston Martin Vector are the supercar that never made it. When you hear the name Aston Martin, the first things that come to mind are elegance, luxury, and a strong connection to James Bond. But beyond the grand tours and movie stardom, Aston Martin has a hidden history of bold experiments and futuristic concepts. One of the most fascinating among them is the Aston Martin Vector, a supercar project that was born in the age of futuristic design, carried wild ambitions, but sadly never reached production. This is the forgotten story of the Aston Martin Vector. The late 1970s and early 1980s were an exciting time for car design. Manufacturers all over the world were experimenting with aerodynamics, wedge-shaped silhouettes, and advanced interiors. Cars like the Lamborghini Countach, Ferrari 512 and Lotus Esprit defined what a supercar should look like: a sharp, exotic, and futuristic. Aston Martin, meanwhile, was known more for luxury grand tours than radical supercars. But with financial struggles and competition rising, the company wanted to prove it could build a car that wasn't just elegant, it could be futuristic, powerful, and capable of standing alongside Italy's best. That ambition gave birth to the idea of the Vector. The Aston Martin Vector was unlike anything the company had built before. Gone were the flowing lines and classic shapes of the DBS or V8 Vantage. Instead, the Vector adopted a low, wedge-shaped body, designed to cut through the air with maximum efficiency. The nose was aggressive and sharp, the panels were smooth and flush, and the proportions were extreme, giving the car a spaceship-like presence. To many, it looked more like something from a sci-fi movie than a British luxury car maker. Inside, Aston Martin went even further with the futuristic theme. The cockpit was inspired by aircraft design, with digital displays, complex switches, and a wraparound dashboard. For the late 70s, this was almost unbelievable, a car that looked ready to take off into the skies rather than drive on the road. While the Vector never became a fully realized production car, Aston Martin's engineers imagined it as a true performance machine. Early plans suggested fitting it with either a V8 or V12 engine, paired with lightweight bodywork. The goal was to make it fast enough to compete with the Ferrari 512 and the Lamborghini Countach, cars that dominated the supercar stage at the time. Aston Martin didn't just want to build a luxury GTA, they wanted to prove they could create a raw, aerodynamic machine that could push boundaries. As exciting as the Vector was, it faced one major obstacle: money. Aston Martin was struggling financially during this era. Production numbers were low, and the company barely had the resources to continue its existing lineup of cars. Building an all-new futuristic supercar required massive investment, advanced engineering, specialized production, and marketing on a global scale. For a company already on shaky ground, the Vector was too risky. And so, like many concept cars of the time, the Aston Martin Vector never went beyond the prototype stage. It was quietly shelved, leaving behind only images, design sketches, and the imagination of what could have been. Even though the Vector never made it to the roads, its influence lived on. It showed that Aston Martin had the creativity and ambition to step into the world of futuristic supercars. In many ways, it was a preview of the kind of bold thinking that would one day give us cars like the Aston Martin Valkyrie and the Valhalla, modern hypercars that push the limits of technology. For enthusiasts and collectors, the Vector remains a symbol of Aston Martin's daring side, a car that could have rewritten the brand's history if only it had been produced.